Morning everybody, it's windy. Went to the hay auction this morning hoping to try to find some second cutting or some higher quality later cutting hays, but just it's nothing out there. I mean it's out there, but it's either hard to come by or really expensive. Yesterday we got a load of first cutting in. There's a guy that I've been sourcing this stuff from, so he's been really good to me and it's been bringing me some good hay for a really good price. So we've been moving that a lot. Anyway, wasn't successful this morning with that. Came home, I'm gonna try to do some cleanup in the barn here again, but had to move the disc bind and the case around so I can clean some stuff out over there. And ran into an issue here, leaking fuel out of like everywhere on this thing. So haven't run this tractor in about a month. And this is the lovely thing that the cold does, is it just breaks things. So there's O-rings in that fitting right there and on this fitting right here. And the cold, I don't know how it does it, but the cold it freezes and cracks the O-rings and they lose their sealability. So as you can see, we're just dripping fuel everywhere, which is just wonderful. I love firing up a tractor and right away something is wrong with it. Fortunately, this tractor's relatively easy to work on. Start with this one down here. Here's the O-ring shot. We're gonna have to get a new one. Well, after a little bit of research and a part number, it is a pretty brand specific type O-ring. It's a really thick O-ring that goes into that brass fitting. So I had to call the dealer and they can get them in by tomorrow afternoon. But now I'm kind of in a pickle because I got the case there backed as far back as it can go and the AGCO's on the other side. And I want to get to the AGCO to clean out the barn. Well, now I can't get to the AGCO because that door is shut and I can't slide that door this way because the case is sticking out. It's about 1:30 right now. So I can clean up the stuff in the barn, but I just can't get anything hauled out till that tractor is moved. But that part should be in by tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully. And if it is, we can hopefully get that tractor fixed up tomorrow afternoon. If you are also a K730 owner or actually any of the gas 30 series, you probably have the same part number and it is 222-103, I think is the number. And it's the rubber O-ring that goes in there. It's not just your typical O-ring. See, I thought this was the whole O-ring right here. Turns out it's not. You got that whole thick part in there. And this guy right here is what goes into the carburetor. And you can see how that thing is pretty junked up in there. Update, I realized I can make the door fit. It's currently sitting on the wheel and it's not ideal because if the wind starts blowing and flapping against the tin, it might bend the tin, but we won't leave it there forever. I can at least move this around now. So we're gonna get to cleaning this up. We got a new toy. This here is a Massey TD776 TRC tedder. It's a 6-star tedder, 25 feet wide. Should serve a really good purpose here on the operation this year. I was messing with it a little bit, trying to get it unfolded and stuff, and I couldn't get it unfolded, but I believe I figured out why. These big springs back here, there's a nut at the end of it, and that nut needs to go backwards because what happens is when you unfold it, this big frame arm here comes back and presses against that switch and pushes it. And that's what changes the hydraulic flow from those cylinders to these cylinders to then unfold the wings. And the nuts are set too tight, so it can't unfold all the way. It doesn't press the switch. So we'll mess around with it tomorrow. When I have more time, I'm gonna go through and kind of check some points on it, air up the tires a little bit and maybe wash a little bit, because we towed it home from Agritier in Leola, Pennsylvania. It's about a 45-minute drive normally by car, but pulling this thing, it was closer to about an hour. Now we were going 45 miles an hour with it, so it tows really, really nice. That is the main reason we purchased a tedder like this, was because it's on a cart and it transports on big road wheels rather than these tiny little wheels right here. These things, they're just not built to run down the road with. And that's the whole issue we had with this tedder here, is it travels on those little wheels and it wears them out fast, it wears the bearings out, wears bushings out, and it just doesn't travel down the road good anymore. That tedder brand new, yeah, I'm sure it traveled great down the road, and we could have bought a new 4-star for, much cheaper, but as we're growing in acres, it makes a little bit more sense to get something that travels fast on a cart and covers more ground. So this is going to be a pretty big player this year, just because we're going to be able to get hay tedded a lot faster. We're going to be able to get hay dried faster, and we're going to be able to get to places a lot faster with our tedder. That was the main bottleneck last year with the Krone, was just took too long to get places, and well, it TED stuff in twice the amount of time as this stuff will TED. Anyway, that's the setup right there. That's what's going to be doing the bulk of the TEDing this year. I will be curious to see if the case manages to pull this tedder. I have a feeling it will on flatter surfaces, but we do have some hilly stuff out here in other fields that I'm just not sure if that case is going to be able to do it quite as efficiently as I hope it will. Well, obviously it won't, because that's a diesel, 20 more horsepower and 4-wheel drive. So obviously that's going to do a lot better than the case will, but I'll be curious to see if it'll do it. Maybe we'll do a test someday. With that being said, guys, it's about the end of the day. I'm going to wrap it up, close the barn up. Just want to do a quick shout out. Thanks to Agritier. They're the one that got me hooked up with this tedder. Any of your farming needs, check them out. They might be a good fit for you. Massey tedder. Hopefully it does good this year. Oh, and one more thing. If anybody's interested in a Krone 4-star tedder, it is for sale. Serious inquiries only. So the Baler just showed back up. They did a whole bunch of stuff to it, and kind of it's just a necessary thing that we had to do. Yeah, the work is kind of expensive, and some of the stuff we probably could have done ourselves, but there's also some stuff that, you know, I was not going to be able to do. One of the big things that they did to this thing was there were 2 plunger bearings that were completely shot. They had to pull the thrower off and pull the whole plunger out. Probably with some help I could have done it, but I just don't have that help all the time, and I don't really have the tools or the facilities to do some of that sort of stuff. They did a couple other miscellaneous things. They replaced the bill hooks on the nodder. I like to think that having someone who knows what they're doing when it comes to fixing the machine and looking over it, I like to think that that pays for itself. This machine has never let me set ever in the field. We've owned this machine for 4 years now, and never once have I been in the field, it broke on me, and I have not been able to complete the baling task. Having someone to go through the machine, fix what needs to be fixed, and, you know, adjust or check what needs to be checked and adjusted, I think that pays for itself. Because when it comes to making hay, time is money. I got my super expensive part of $2. Gotta go over the fuel line. Just hope we put this on right. This tractor has been a wonderful tractor. The only problem we've ever had with it really is the fuel. The fuel system has just always been a tricky thing. Carburetor, fuel line leaks. That's just one thing we've always had fun with this tractor.